You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.
Rob, what's good, homie?
Yo, man, we're on Thursday night. To this week feels like a Wednesday, so I'm kind of adjusting my time schedule, but all for a good cause, Mike. A lot of bowling on this past week. I got so used to it, Mike, that I feel like I'm missing out tonight that there's no bowling on. So,
I second those sentiments exactly. I came home today and I was like, damn, man, like, what am I going to do tonight? Like when 8 o'clock rolls around, I mean, I know we got the podcast and that's cool, but like, yeah, I love watching live bowling on TV, man. I love watching live bowling on TV. And Rob, you're right. We had to wait for the show. We had to wait to wrap up for the best week in bowling to come to a conclusion. And I know my man Jimmy, the Ring and 10, agrees with me. He said that on he said that on social media today. So I appreciate that, Jimmy, for sure. But yeah, Rob, we had to wait for the best week in bowling to wrap up, get some of these events wrapped up so we could come on here and we could analyze and we could talk about bowling the way we love to do it, with the fans, by fans, right? Because that's what we are. And I know you watched all the shows. Everybody knows I watched all the shows. We were tweeting during the shows. We've talked a lot behind the scenes about what was going on out there, et cetera. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for tonight's show to kind of wrap things up. I can't wait to hear what our regulars in the chat have to say about some of our takes tonight.
Dude, we got some hot takes tonight.
I told Rob, I'm going to share with the people, Rob. I told Rob before we came on there, I said, Rob, like, it's our place in the analyzation game to come on and give the honest takes that we see from these shows that we discuss one-on-one, right? And I think tonight you're gonna see a lot of that. So I'm excited. I'm hyped. There's a lot of bowling to talk about, Rob. And Rob, the first order of business here, obviously, is the huge story that broke, I'll say throughout the week, but really it was yesterday where things came to a head. And it was announced by both players officially that really two of the greats of the game, two of the greatest to ever do it, two of the greatest to ever shoe them up and throw a ball down the lane, are both going to step away from the national tour full time, starting immediately. And obviously I'm referring to the retirement of Pete Weber that was announced. And I'm referring to the retirement of Walter Ray that was announced. No surprises there. What we're talking about, and Rob, we want to start off with this topic tonight because, quite frankly, it deserves it. It wouldn't be right for us to start an episode after this announcement with anything but talking about these two greats of the game. So. I'll let you take it in whatever direction you want to. So okay. Give me your take. Let's hear what you have to say.
So first off, a couple of the main media, mainstream media picked up on the Pete Weber story, completely forgetting to leave out Walter Ray, by the way. It just shows you how much more well-known Pete Weber is than Walter Ray in just the outside mainstream media world. Barstool, right? Bleacher Report. You ever really want some good reading on really what people in our age group between, I won't say our age group, but younger, between 18 and 30-year-old people outside bowling think of bowling? Go read the comments on Twitter for Bleacher Report and Barstool and see what a lot of people are talking about when it comes to bowling in general. A lot of people like Pete Weber, though. So there was a lot of, who do you think, I am, you are talk. So here's my take is one, dude, Pete Weber and Walter Ray, I grew up watching them bowl, okay? They're legends of the sport. To me, their faces will be on the Mount Rushmore of bowling. For them to go and retire in the same tournament out of the national tour, losing to the same opponent, going to 5 games in each opponent, and Walter probably should have won that match, is unbelievable. It's really, the timing was pretty amazing, to be honest with you. So yeah, I mean, look, like it was definitely nostalgia to see, your like heroes growing up bowling get old and not being able to, like, do it how they used to do it. A little bit sad in a way, but definitely happy, to see them go out the way they wanted to go out. Pete went out on his shield. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But Walter, it was such a stand-up guy his whole career. Nicest guy if you ever met him personally. And yeah, happy that they could now concentrate on the PBA 50. So I wouldn't call it 100% retirement, Mike. 50% retirement, right? We won't see them on TV as much. But, happy for them. And what an amazing career on the national level for both. You won't see anybody that changed the game as much as Pete Weber did, outside the lanes as well as on the lanes. I think he's going to go down as, my opinion, probably the guy who changed the whole face of the PBA. And I don't know, there'll never be anybody like him, and it's sad for me to say that, because we need 100 of him bowling on tour.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree with a lot of what you said, right? Most certainly so. The idea that these are two guys who, were our idols growing up if you were a bowler, right? Like if you're a bowler and you're 40 years old, Pete Weber and Walter Ray were two guys who you watched on many Saturday afternoons. Okay. And I have a lot of good memories of that. And then later on, on various different outlets, right? But we've been watching these guys succeed and work their way to the top of the game for a very long time, right? So there's all kinds of memories connected to these players for anybody who's into bowling. So I certainly agree with that. I agree with Jimmy that it's really appropriate that they both retired at the same time. They were opposites and they were rivals throughout their whole I won't say their entire careers, because Pete, like, I think came to be known as a great bowler a little bit earlier than Walter Ray. Right, where Walter Ray came into the winning scene of things a little bit later, but then
Pete won his first title in '79, I think.
I know, and that's why I say that. So, like, Walter Ray comes in a little bit later into the winning picture of things, and then from that point on, they really became two of the two people who were constantly battling it out. I mean. One of my favorite documentaries, and I've said it here before, is A League of Ordinary Gentlemen, right? And I in that documentary, the last match of that PBA season, where the new owners had come in and they were really trying to turn things around, was actually Walter Ray against Pete Weber. And you could tell that the person who was running the tour at that time for the new owners, he wanted Pete Weber to win the match. He wanted Pete Weber to get to Walter Ray, and he wanted him to win the match because Weber was such an attractive personality and such a polar personality in bowling, and that's something that I'll always remember is Walter Ray and Pete Weber, both being competitors, both being rivals for a long time in their career. Pete Weber kind of referred to it by himself on his own, where he talked about the fact that they had been rivals for a long time. Flo put out a video where they sat down and discussed it. Obviously, I think Walter Ray got the better of that in terms of the wins and the titles and the money and things of that nature. But Rob, when it comes to the fans, right? And again, Pete said it himself, Pete had way more attraction and opinion from the fans, I think. Very polar. You either liked them or you hated them. And, people had strong opinions about him. Whereas Walter Ray, a little bit more of the GOAT status, I would say, in wins. But, yeah, not the same appeal to the fans.
Yeah, so thank you for the people in the chat correcting me. He won his first regional in 79. I think his first national title was 82. I was 1 year old when he won his first national title. That's crazy to me. Like, I was born 81, Mike. So like, he's been bowling as long as I've been born on a national tour and winning. So God, I'm gonna miss Pete Weber. And I'm throwing a call out to all the national pros right now out there to somebody please pick up his legacy and try to make bowling interesting on and off the lanes. Because, right now, looking at the new generation coming up, Mike, I only see a couple of guys that, have the ability to maybe try to like be entertaining on and off the lanes and still be able to win and make shows. So to me, that was the most important part of Pete Weber is he could talk the talk, but he could walk the walk. He backed up, man. He put his money where his mouth is. Honestly, like he would talk shit, but he would back it up. He was one of the most feared players when he was in his prime, and he let you know it too. And we need more of that. We need 100 Pete Webers bowling on tour right now. The ratings and the sponsors would be coming through the roof, but unfortunately, I haven't seen that in today's game. So yeah, man, just a sad, definitely emotional watching Pete in his retirement speech, and just still going out in a shield, Mike, talking about, hey, I could still hit the pocket like they can. I just can't strike. And man, that's where the game is these days. If they were tougher.
He had to let everybody know that, right? He had to let everybody know that,
because that's Pete.
I can still throw it and hit the pocket as much as you can.
That's Pete.
So yeah, some vintage stuff there. So Rob, this kind of makes me think of like, what are your great memories? What's the memory, right, that you take away of Walter Ray and Pete Weber? Okay,
so trying to find Walter Ray's greatest moment and just thinking about it, there isn't really a greatest moment to me. To me, it's the fact that if he didn't make the show in his prime, that was a surprise. He was on the show every week. He was winning, felt like every week. And he was so consistent and so just, accurate, and just everything he did was so like planned out. Like he just had a game plan and just was so consistent and so accurate. To me, though, the moment, just thinking of Walter Ray's career, is the fact that he was a national horseshoe pitching champion. I mean, I think that was just amazing. And we interviewed Walter Ray. If anybody doesn't know that, you could find it in our archives. We talked about how he got into bowling and how horseshoe pitching kind of related into bowling. It was a great interview we did. It was an honor to actually interview him because he was our hero and one of our, favorite bowlers growing up. But yeah, really not a really favorite moment. Just the fact that the guy was a national horseshoe pitching champion and he was always on TV.
And how about Pete? What memory do you take away there?
I'm not going to say who do you think you are, I am, because that's me.
That's what it is for me. That's definitely what it is for me. No, but listen, I saw that tournament live, right? I saw that tournament in person. I was in the building, leading up to that show. I wasn't there for the show. So yeah, for me, it's that. That's
I know.
I know it's the easy
bowling.
Pick, but
as bowling podcast influencers, right, is what we've been called. I feel like I need to dig down deeper to find Petey's greatest moment. To me, and being who I am, was the interview where he talked about getting it in, and that's how he, he bowled well when he got it in the night before. And I think that's just that's complete Pete for you, right? Like him just saying whatever the hell he wants, not giving a shit what anybody thinks of him, doing his own thing, incorporating, a crotch chop.
Saw that last night too, Rob, very clearly.
Yeah. Dude, the guy just didn't care what anybody thought. He did what he did because he knew the people, were eating it up, and he just wasn't afraid to be himself, and he didn't care about. I would love to ask him if I get a chance to interview is how much career fines that he had from the PBA in his lifetime, because I'm sure he got fined a million times in his career. I'd love to know the final count on, including last night's F-bomb, to see if he got fined for that. I would love to know the final tally of his fines, and I would love to know, he, if what he was really trying to say, or who he was yelling at in the "Who do you think you are? I am," because that's still a mystery to me. And I said it on previous shows. I think we'll find out who killed Hoffa, or where Hoffa is, before we find out who PDW was yelling at. And real quick, Jimmy, while we're talking about Pete, do you consider Pete Weber an ambassador for the sport? Absolutely, I do, because he's well known throughout the bowling world. If you're bowling, you don't know who Pete Weber is, you're living under a rock. But he's also a huge ambassador outside the lanes. He's been on talk shows. He's been on ESPN. He's been on so many mainstream sport platforms that, yes, he is an ambassador of the sport, whether he knows it or he doesn't know it. Everybody knows who Pete Weber is, and everybody knows who Pete Weber is associated with bowling. So, lengthy. Pete's had suspensions, fines. My man has been through it, man. I love the guy for it too. Didn't really give a shit. Now everyone in today's game is so afraid to get fines and get suspended, and they're not afraid. They're afraid to be themselves because of it. So, Pete wasn't like that, man. So we're gonna miss Pete.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of my memories of these two players, obviously the fifth U.S. Open for Pete Weber definitely comes to mind, and that's going to be one of them no matter what. But I also think that in terms of what you remember from Weber, you remember the attitude. You remember the performances, you remember the reaction. So again, not one specific memory there, but more a general impression that you're left with. In terms of Walter Ray, I will say that I have more of a personal memory of Walter Ray from the U.S. Open at Carolier, the first year that Bill bowled. He bowled as an amateur, and he almost made the show. And at one point on that last block of match play, I believe it was on a Friday night,
I think I remember this.
He bowled Walter Ray, and the match. I'll be honest, I don't remember the dead specifics of the match, but you know exactly where this.
I know where this is going. I know the story.
There's a match go, and listen, you got to understand the building was packed with Bill O'Neill people. Like it was, everybody was there. Everyone I knew that was around the area who knew Bill was in the building at Carolier that night, and the house was heavily favored towards Bill O'Neill. And there was a lot of chirping going on because a lot of the tour guys, I don't think, appreciated the fact that an amateur had so much support in a building where they felt like they should have it. And Bill bowled Walter Ray, and at one point in the match, Walter Ray goes up, and and it's a tight match, and he just absolutely crushes and stones an 8-pin. And the whole crowd's like, ooh. And then everybody silences down, and you hear somebody go, well, you know what they say, if you hit 9, you get 9. And it's my dad. It was my dad talking shit in the back. Okay, it was my dad talking shit because he was a Bill O'Neill fan, and he didn't care who Bill was bowling. Whoever it was, we root against that person. So that's a little personal memory to me. I think it's really cool, Rob, that we got, like you said, we got the chance to interview Walter Ray. If people have a chance, I really think go back and listen to that interview. It was one of our first. So we may not be as smooth as we were back as we are now, maybe, but definitely worth your time to check that out for sure. So in terms of their retirement, Rob, I'd like to say something. I think that I'd like to see the PBA come up with a way, especially right now with these two guys retiring. I mean, this is really the perfect time. Okay, I would like to see them come up with a way to somehow properly honor these guys at their retirement. Right now, usually that would be like the Hall of Fame, okay, would come after that. But in bowling, you're inducted into the Hall of Fame while you're bowling, right? So you don't really have that opportunity. The end of the tournament, while it was really nice to see, and I know a lot of people from the upper level bowling community were there, there weren't any fans there. There really wasn't any fanfare involved, especially for the level that these guys are at. And I would really love to see the PBA make an effort to come up with some way to not only honor these two guys, but honor other retirees at various times, maybe in years past or in future retirees, where perhaps at the Tournament of Champions, I know that came up. Pete and Walter said that might be a tournament that they bowl. Maybe they can invite a few retirees to that tournament every year on the PBA and really put some fanfare behind, come see some of the greats of the game.
Mike,
compete.
it'd be a good idea.
Go ahead.
If they ran like an exhibition where they put a Baker match between 5 against 5 and they aired it, and they put think about all the guys who are still bowling that are legends, like Walter Ray, Pete Weber. You could have, I don't know, Carmen Salvino, right? Like guys who are still throwing the ball. Just Johnny Petraglia. There's so many guys that are still be able to bowl. That's why bowling's a great sport, because you could bowl well into your 80s and even the 90s if you're still able to throw it. So I feel like they need to come up with some exhibition and air it and make it competitive, right? But honor them all in the same time.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll be honest. I'd like to see something a little shorter.
Yeah,
like I wouldn't,
something like that.
Here's what I think about. I think about like Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer at the Masters teeing off the first day on the first tee, right? Like now, I know I hate when bowling steals other ideas from other things, so I don't want to take that. But
sure,
I like what you kind of brought up of kind of inviting some different people and maybe having like a best ball competition real quick.
Something
that they can show. You could show 10 minutes of during a show and say, hey, we welcome some of the greats of the game this week, and here's what they did. But yeah, I hope the PBA does that. I hit up Bill after I watched the retirement of these guys, and I said, listen, man, when you're ready to hang them up, and I hope that's a long time from now, but when you are ready for that, me and your people, meaning you too, Rob, and many others out there, shout to all of our people. We need a heads up. We need a heads up, right, Rob? Like I would not want Bill to end his career just by giving a speech to mainly a small gallery of people that are all involved in the high level of bowling. I want to be there. I want to go out to dinner with him as soon as he's done, and talk about some of his great wins and experiences on tour, and perhaps organize some kind of social event around it. So I don't know. I think I'd like to see the PBA kind of put something in play there. But all right, Rob, any other final thoughts on Weber and Walter Ray stepping away from the game here?
No, I feel like we kind of said what we were going to say about it. I've said my piece, man. I'm going to miss both of them, especially Pete on the shows, because we all know how entertaining he is. And I need a young buck to step up, take the reins, take the P. Weber shield. Don't be afraid to be a little bit of a villain. Don't be afraid to be a little bit of a bad boy if that's who you are. Don't worry about the fines or the suspensions, because guess what? Like, it's going to make you a lot more popular and a lot more famous outside the bowling community. It's going to lead to a lot of good things. I feel like that needs to happen. So don't be afraid to have a little bit of Pete in you. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, great advice from Rob there. Yeah, crotch chop all over the place. Awesome.
Oh, just
listen, I enjoyed it at one time, but as he got older, it got a little sticky to me.
Well, I mean, look at if you watch wrestling, the old retirees, they come out and Hulk Hogan does his thing and Ric Flair does his thing. People love that shit. They eat it up, man. It's like nostalgia.
So, okay, Rob, the best week of bowling just wrapped up. World Series of bowling is over. All right. And we want to start here. We want to start here with our analysis. Okay.
Okay.
What are your big takeaways from the World Series of bowling, Rob?
Okay. So I have a few. Some of them are hot. Some of them are not.
Fans, jump in, jump in the conversation. We want to hear your takes too. I love reading your takes. I want to put the takes up. Like, let's hear your takes. What are the big stories here?
Mike, there's a lot of comments about Pete's F-bomb. We are going to talk about that, okay? So we got a question from I'd Rather Be Bowling about what do I think of Coley's reaction for the F-bomb. Yeah, I'd love to get into that a little bit. She probably was like, oh my God, an F-bomb. So anyway, one is first-time champions, right? Cooley was first-time champion. Maldonado, first-time champion. Daugherty, first-time major champion, right? Tom Daugherty home house, right? That needs to be talked about a lot because that was literally the pairs they bowled on were literally the pairs in front of his pro shop. Okay, say whatever you want to say. It. We're just calling a fact a fact.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, right? Here's my take on that, Rob. The PBA used to travel around to many different houses all over the country.
Sure. Yeah, right? Back in the good days, the glory
30
days.
stops, 35 stops, 30 different bowling alleys, 30 different cities, etc. This World Series was conducted in a bowling center that to my knowledge, has never really regularly been used by the PBA. Okay.
Right, yeah.
The World Series of bowling traditionally, Rob, has been in and out and rotated around basically the same centers. Is that fair to say? I mean,
fair to say.
12 years of the World Series, and I think it's only been in a handful.
My brother's hot take. Wow, the guy doesn't win in 10 years, and he wins in 2 in 1 week.
So listen, let's talk about it, folks. Let's dig into it. Let's analyze. So my point on Twitter, Rob, was I think what this week proved to me is that if the PBA traveled around to many different houses all over the place, and there was always different places they were going, okay, I think that we probably would have seen a good deal of different results over the last 12 years than we have. And I want to say this. I want to be clear here. I am not taking anything away from the bowlers who performed in that period of 12 years. But at the same time, I think it's pretty clear after one time that you take it out of these same places that they had it. And as your brother said, a guy who really has not had a lot of success in 10 years absolutely dominates the competition, because that's what he did. Okay, he absolutely dominated the competition, crushed the competition. He probably should have had a third title in the doubles as well. Okay, but we'll get into that a little bit later.
Mike.
So am I right, Rob? Do you agree with me that if they traveled around all over the place over the last 12 years, perhaps the results would have bared out a bit differently than what we've seen?
Absolutely, because ball roll and your ball rolling in certain buildings is real thing, okay? And just being a bowler, when you go to a certain bowling center, if you have success in that building prior, or you haven't made a cut there in your whole life. Why is that? Because your ball roll and your speed, everybody has a unique ball roll and a release, right? No two releases are the same, Mike. No two releases are the same. Everybody has different rolls, ball speed, styles. And when your ball speed and your ball roll matches in one building, and you're in that level of a pro, it's easy to, strike. Now here, I'm going to ask a question to you, Mike, and I'm going to ask a question to the chat. Could you imagine if the World Series of Bowling was at Jason Belmonte's home house in Orange, Australia? Mike, what would he do in that building if the World Series of Bowling was there? It's a fair question, right? Because this is what Tom Daugherty did, right? He runs the pro shop there. He's bowled there for how many years? He said this is his house, right? So for them to put it in a center where he's really that comfortable with everything, and you could tell it was just completely on a different level of everybody else, is a little, to me, like, I don't know. I'm not taking any credit away from Daugherty, right? He bowled amazing. He was throwing the ball great. It's true, but it's a point, Richie. Like, it's a point that I'm trying to make. Like, it's a point of the same. No. It's the point that I'm trying to make. I'm glad he's in the chat, because all I'm saying is, like, I'm not taking anything away from Daugherty. I'm saying that, right? But my take is, look, the guy's bowling on TV that he bowled on for 20 years outside the pro shop. I mean, there's got to be some kind of advantage, no? Like, he's got to know the lanes. He's got to know a lot what's going on. He'd be the first to tell you, too, that he knew that bowling center.
I think you're the point I more agree with you there, Rob, on is the idea of ball roll and matchup. And I think this was probably a combination of both, where the knowledge of the house and his confidence there and him matching up well there probably were all had something to do with what we saw. Right. Again, not taking anything away from him.
I'm not.
But,
We're not. He bowled amazing.
No, not at all.
He was throwing the ball
dominated.
so good.
And listen, these are the best bowlers in the world. Make no mistake, these are the best bowlers in the world. So any advantage you give them, it really
sure.
doesn't matter. They're likely to overcome it. Okay, so all things being equal, though, talent being equal, an advantage like having a great ball roll in a particular place that works for you can give you a lot of confidence and give you that extra boost you need to perform at that level and really dominate like he did. So I thought that was really interesting. I thought that was a great topic to bring up. Whoever brought that up in the chat.
It's a good story.
I thought that was great.
You asked me what the storylines of the World Series were. First time titleist.
Let's piggyback off of the Daugherty talk about his house, right? All right, Rob, I'm going to make another statement here, right? Tom Daugherty is the clear favorite for Player of the Year.
I mean, right now he is, him and Troop, but there's still 2 majors left. So we'll see. I mean, look, he's got a lot of momentum.
Does the same person have to win both majors?
No.
To knock it?
No.
So wait a second. So outside of Kyle Troop winning one of the next 2 majors,
yeah,
who would win? Who would win a major, right? That would knock Tom Daugherty out of the box.
Prather. If Prather wins a major, he'd be
a doubles title and a major.
And he's got a bunch of shows on top of it.
Okay, all right. I mean, I'll take that
doubles
argument.
Title is still a title. I mean, so
okay, fair enough. I think I really feel like Tom Daugherty, has a huge advantage in the Player of the Year category here.
If Daugherty misses the Open and the Masters, just to say he misses both cuts, and Prather comes in and wins.
Frankie, good point, Stu. Good point. All right, Buttriff. All right, okay.
You still got this.
I'll take some of those. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
So you got a few of them that are up there, but also, so Player of the Year, right? It's still early. The season still ends. What? It ends after the playoffs, right? So there's still the majors and then the playoffs. So you still got a few big tournaments, right? The Weed Man's gonna win Rookie of the Year probably. I mean, I don't see anybody else beating the Weed Man.
Great performance by him, by the way. Shout to him.
The Weed Man. The Weed Man was knocking off Bill, Kyle.
I said on Twitter, like, he reminds me of Ryan Schaefer in the sense that, like, you look at his game and he doesn't have a very textbook traditional game. And it looks like there's some flaws in his game that would kind of expose him. And then you look at his ball roll and the ball reacts in a way that you wouldn't expect it to, for the way that it looks like it's coming off his hand. But the guy strikes. He beat Bill. He beat Kyle Troop. I mean, the guy strikes. He got on the show. He bowled good on the show. So, shout to him, man. I
was thinking
great
more
performance.
Like
so somebody's saying that Tom Daugherty is not bowling the majors. He's not bowling the U.S. Open and the Masters. He's the hottest bowler on the planet, and he's not going to bowl the 2 majors.
True.
Where are we getting that information from? Can somebody confirm that for us? That actually, come on, I don't know.
No, I don't know. The Weed Man is more to me like Steve Jaros than he is. Just got that like glasses.
All right, so piggyback on Daugherty again, Rob. The guy had a heart attack.
I know, that was crazy story, right? Breaking news right on the show. And if you watch the Flow Bowling behind the scenes, was by far best 6 minutes I've ever watched on Flow Bowling of Tom Daugherty mic'd up. Just because to me that I was laughing out loud pretty much the whole thing. Dude, Daugherty's a great story because you respect the 20 years grind, man, of him just grinding out 20 years, right? Getting a title and then getting his first major. Champa Bay or Tampa Tom or whatever you want to call him, man.
Rob, apparently the people in the chat are telling us that on the Flow interview, which I didn't watch because I didn't have a very long lunch today, that he said he's not bowling the 2 upcoming majors. Yo, that's crazy to me. That's crazy. I mean, I know he made a lot of money last week, but Rob, when you're hot, you want to get out there and bowl the next tournament, right?
Like he's opening up. He doesn't obviously really, really care about Player of the Year, then that to me that would. I mean, yeah, he cares about it, but dude, if you really want to lock it up, make one more show on a U.S. Open or a Masters, and you're locked. He gives open the door for a Frankie, a Buttriff, Kyle Troop, right? So
Wow.
anyway, we'll
I
see.
gotta say, I'm really surprised by that. Whoa.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he'll change his mind.
I don't want to comment. I don't want to comment. Maybe there's something that we're not aware of there. So
Yeah,
if there is, we, I don't want to harp on it too much in case there is something there. So shout to Tom Daugherty. If he does have something going on that's preventing him from bowling the majors, I hope whatever it is.
Dude,
is
Jimmy's
all right.
saying that his doctor told him to chill out.
Okay.
Maybe it does have something to do with the heart and the pressure of bowling that much.
Okay.
It's a possibility. Coming off a heart attack. I mean, really, like it's
true. Especially going through that whole week. I mean, that week had to be an emotional roller coaster for him.
For sure.
And it could have put us. I mean, and listen. I say this in all seriousness, folks. It really could have put a lot of stress on his heart, being out there bowling for that kind of money, and going through that and being in those positions.
Kills me. Dude, Charlie Top with the chopstick. He's licking his chops for the Bolero Rumble.
Yeah,
he's skipping the majors to bowl the Rumble.
You know what annoys me the most about that shit, Charlie, is that when you go to their website, like that's the biggest thing that works on their website is the ad for the Bolero Rumble. Dude,
you got to get people in the building anyway. So okay,
right, so
enough
we're
about
moving
Tom.
on. We're moving on, right? But no, like we had to give time to that, Rob, because he dominated. Shout to him. I want to get him on the show. He ignored me on Twitter.
Yeah, because everybody else ignores you on Twitter. Don't worry.
No, it's all right. We'll get at him. He's probably booked on Beef and Barnesy, and that's why he didn't want to hit me back up. But it's all right. We'll work it out. Yeah, we'll do our best.
Hey, well, he doesn't want to answer the tough questions. If you want to answer the lobs, go to Beef and Barnesy.
All right. Can I bring up a big story? Can I bring up a storyline?
What do you got?
Rob, we're gonna catch some shit over this one, I feel like.
Okay.
One of the biggest storylines in the World Series to me, Rob, was that the person who almost everyone considers the best bowler in the world got shut out.
Man, Belmo had a tough week, bro. I was surprised as much as anybody else how bad of a week he had. Made one top 16 and didn't make the cashier's round for the World Championship. But Mike, I'm going to stress this point that I said a few minutes ago earlier in the show. When you're ball rolling, you don't match, man. Sometimes you don't match. But if you're the best in the world, you're going to find a way to make it work. He did make a top 16, made a top 8. Almost made that last show, but he ran into Prather, who just completely, ran him over 3-0. Look, like you got to give him a little bit of. Sometimes you got to give him a little bit of slack, Belmonte. Like you got to give him some just leeway, man. Maybe it was. I don't know. I'm not making any excuses for him. He won't make any excuses.
All great players. All great players falter sometimes. I mean, Tom Brady has lost Super Bowls. He's lost big games. This happens. Rob, if we really wanted to come on here and play, the hot take game, if there were a lot of voices in the bowling community that are analyzing things through the way that we are, and it became a game of, hey, who's going to say the hotter thing? Who's going to say the more outrageous thing? I could picture people coming out and saying, Belmonte's done. It's over. His run is over. He's done. And listen, you're way off base if that's where you want to go with it, right? Because this, as I said, as we discussed, Rob, this was in a center that the PBA has not frequented at all very much on the national level over the years. Sometimes ball roll and matching up and being able to get your ball to go through the pins the right way has a lot to do with, success or failure at this level. I mean, these guys are that good. Okay. So in no way, shape, or form am I going that far. But Rob, it's noticeable when you go onto the standings and you look for Belmonte and you expect him to be in the top 5 or the top 10, and he's in 70th. Okay.
Yeah,
that's rather shocking. That's rather shocking. But listen, again, Everybody has this. He's entitled to it. He'll be back.
Mike, if you watched any of his flow qualifying or flow, like just in general, I watched a lot this week. He just could not get the ball to face the pins the right way. And I feel like his ball roll had a lot to do with it. If you look at someone like Kyle Troop, a two-hander, Tom Daugherty, a two-hander, even Maldonado, a two-hander, what's the difference between them and Belmo when they all throw the ball? Belmo's a little bit more to the side. He's got a little bit more side roll. He gets the ball down the lane easier, down the front part of the lane than all three of them do. And I feel like that was his problem, because Daugherty even said it on the show. His advantage was he was able to use shiny stuff and able to still get his ball to face the pins the right way. Belmo, if he was trying to use shiny equipment, his ball went way too long, and he either 10-pinned or he 2-8-10'd. The same thing that happened with Bill O'Neill. Bill O'Neill, he didn't have enough hand. I hate to say it because we used to call the kid Buzzsaw. He didn't have enough hand to use a shiny, like a Rebel hammer or whatever, an Intel that Daugherty was using. And I feel like it was just, look, his ball roll and just everything about Belmo's game just didn't match that building. And I guarantee you Belmo was not sad to see that tournament leave that place.
Yeah, agreed. All right. So, Rob, the last big story. So we talked about first-time winners. We talked about Daugherty and his domination of the World Series. We talked about Belmo and the shocking outcomes there. Last big story I want to throw out there, Rob, and again, I'm not trying to be a hot take artist here. I think this is fair. I think this is fair analysis. Rob, a couple shots more concentration, okay? Two specifically better shots from Kyle Troop, and he may have been walking away from this World Series as the absolute lock for player of the year, with no way that anyone would catch him. And perhaps looking at the possibility of a $500,000 season. Okay. He misses a spare in the doubles match that cost them the title. Okay.
I wouldn't say it cost them a title, but it would have been a good run.
The title. Cost them a shot at the title, right? And then has a poor performance against Daugherty in the finals of that event where they met each other. It
was just one shot Troop threw in the Daugherty match, but nobody was beating Daugherty. I mean, it really came down to like one shot. It was a 2-8-10, but you're right though. My opinion though, and take it for what it is. Kyle Troop right now is the best player in the world, or the hottest player in the world right now. I think he's throwing it. He's shown that he's now a top one or two bowlers in the world right now at this present time. I'd be shocked.
Agreed. I said it on Twitter. I said it on Twitter. That he's at a point now where it's never going to be a surprise to me to see him at the top of the standings, or see that he's making a run, or see him make a show. But Rob, it comes down to those instances that you're describing and that you're talking about that sometimes decide the win or the loss, right? And that's important in the grand scheme of things. And that's one of the things that I love about watching bowling, is that sometimes major championships, major awards can come down literally to just the difference between this shot or that shot. And I think that's what we saw here in the World Series. And I'll be honest, I thought Kyle Troop had kind of put that behind him. Okay. And I saw that come back out again here. So as we go forward, while I do expect him to make shows like you, Rob, I'm going to be looking for that. I'm going to be, looking at it through the lens of, is he coming and really buckling down in the times where the winning and the losing is going to be decided.
Yeah, he definitely could have took advantage of some opportune moments. But, I mean, if you look at some of the best bowlers in the world and you look at their records on TV, I mean, Walter Ray didn't have a great record on TV.
Fair point.
So I feel like as long as he keeps making shows, he's gonna win. But it's good for him to just make shows at this point, because he's setting himself up to win. And every show he makes, he gains experience. And Mike, I think he's only like 26 or 25 years old. So him and Simo are the futures of the sport, no doubt in my mind. I think they're going to be the future. They're going to be the ones clashing all the time, and then you could throw in a Frankie. You could throw in, someone like a Jesper Svensson. These guys they're really the future of the sport. So we'll see what happens. But so real quick, yeah, they're definitely tired. These guys had such long weeks. Charlie Tapp in the chat room says some of these guys have got to be tired. Easy to toss a few bad ones. Yeah, for sure. A lot of exhaustion. Hands are hurting, wrists are hurting, knees are hurting. Daugherty, it does not getting any younger either, and he just came off a heart attack. He's 46, so for him to perform how he did was incredible, honestly.
And they weren't that easy out there.
No, oh God, no.
It was easy to miss.
EJ, right?
Okay.
Yeah, EJ Tackett had a great week, but he seems to kind of he's been crumbling a little bit in match play and struggling a lot when it's coming down late. Hate to say it. I mean, I'm just calling a spade right now. He needs to start performing a lot better in the clutch and on TV especially. So is Marshall Kent too. He struggled on TV. He's another one who rides the struggle bus on TV. So not easy bowling on TV, Mike. So one of the real last storyline I want to talk about before we move on is the use of urethane on TV and compared to actually who's winning. I don't think anybody won using a urethane ball this week, Mike. I'm just looking at the winners. Daugherty was using an Intel. Maldonado was using, I think, an Omni, an Ebonite Omni, who switched out of a urethane, which, by the way, tweeted that morning saying, I don't think I remember the last time someone actually switched out of a urethane mid-show to a reactive resin. Look, yeah, Walter Ray making a run, which I almost called him to make that show. Almost predicted him last week to make that show. And I was getting a lot of shit for it in the chat room. So screw you guys. But, yeah, Maldonado got out of the first game using a urethane, and then he switched to a resin and seemed he had it wide open. Sam Cooley, right, using a reactive urethane or reactive resin, being able to almost hook the whole lane, beating Prather slow hooking when Prather's still trying to use a urethane. Buttriff is never getting out of a urethane, so he's going down with the ship, right? Like if his ball switches to just switch to a more reactive, urethane, right? So Tang is another one, right, who likes to stay with urethane as long as he can. I feel like, to me, it's a storyline because if I'm sitting there watching and I'm watching the previous shows, I'm seeing all these people win titles using reactive. Dude, I'm pulling that trigger quick on the urethane if I'm not striking from the get-go, right? And just these guys, I think the new generation these days, they're so handcuffed to the urethane balls that it's so hard for them to switch out of it. But Maldonado switched out of it, and look what happened to him. He had so much of a better look when he did switch out of it. So, Mike, it's the urethane. It's good for a purpose, but I feel like sometimes these pros are getting a little bit too married to their urethanes, and they're not switching out of them quick enough.
I think that the format contributed to that a little bit too, because you didn't have to shoot the highest game. You just had to avoid shooting the lowest game. And I think that kind of might lead people to say, oh, well, I'm going to play the safer look, which urethane usually tends to be. Now, as you said, it didn't seem to work out in the long run. But honestly, I really don't think the urethane is that big of a deal. I saw Dick Allen in the chat earlier. He actually compared liking urethane to liking a dog shitting on your lawn earlier this week. So I don't know if he's still here. Maybe we could get some follow up to that. Clearly not a fan. I got to be honest. I don't really see what the big deal is. It's a tool of bowling, right? If people want to throw plastic, let them throw plastic. If they want to throw urethane, throw urethane. You want to throw resin or whatever, throw whatever you want, right? If it gets it done, it gets it done. I think that bowlers worry too much about what other bowlers are doing at times. I think that particularly if you're at that level, there should always be an adjustment or a move that you can make or a way that you can combat whatever is going out there on the lane. So I don't really have that strong of an opinion on the use of urethane. I use urethane a lot when I bowl on sport patterns. I use urethane a lot when I bowl in my sport league. When I was bowling it, I use urethane if I bowl on a house pattern sometimes if the gutters really hook. So I don't really have too much against it, but I look at it as a tool of bowling. I do think it's overused. I do. I think
Well, that was my
it's a
point.
bit overused. No, it is. It is. I agree with that. But I also think that people out there at times, like I said, even in a regular event where there's a lot of qualifying games in the beginning when the lanes are very touchy, Rob, come on, like the conditions these guys are bowling on, if you're using something reactive, it doesn't take much to drastically change the way the ball reacts down the lane, right? So using urethane is a way to kind of combat that early reaction and keep things more under control.
Mike, but here's my issue, okay? My biggest issue. I'm a biggest proponent of urethane, okay? I love urethane. If anybody knows me and my bowling and when I bowl, if I'm able to use that purple ball outside of 5 or 10, I love that shit. Like, that's a field day for me. But here's my point is the one thing that's great about urethane is very quick to tell you when you need to switch out of it. Right? Instantly when it's time to switch out. You go 2-8, right? You miss right, 2-8, and then you miss left, and it checks up early, and you go through the nose, and then you try to move left, and then you wash out, and then you flat 10, and then there's just a lot of times when the ball tells you there's a story, right? Prather, the ball told him in his last 2 shots before he bowled that final match against Cooley, it might be time to switch out of this urethane. He went through the face 2-8, right? Prather is the best at slow hooking the lane. He's one of the top in the world of doing it, right? There's nobody, in my opinion, that's better than slow hooking it than Prather. And then Cooley beats Prather slow hooking it, and Prather's still using urethane. I'm just going to criticize Prather here. He should have switched out of that urethane at least maybe by the first, maybe like the 3rd or 4th frame, and then try to be where Cooley was, because he knew watching Cooley's reaction. You knew you didn't have a chance beating him by throwing urethane. This his reaction was amazing. So I'd rather switch out of a ball and at least try something that maybe is going to compete and maybe go down with the ship with the reactive.
All right, fair point. Okay. Good discussion there. So Rob, we wanted to just open up for comment on basically just the final matches of the 3 pattern shows, right? So you had
the Cooley Prather.
You had Sam Cooley and Chris Prather in the Cheetah. You had Buttriff and Maldonado in the Chameleon, I believe, mm-hmm. And you had Daugherty and Troop in the Scorpion last night. Mm-hmm. I feel like we kind of covered the Daugherty Troop match, like we talked about, kind of the key shots there and stuff. So. Any thoughts from you on the Cooley Prather match or the Buttriff Maldonado match?
Well, I just talked about the Cooley Prather match. It was Prather was trying to use urethane, and Cooley had a great look hooking the lane, and the match was gone. It was a foregone conclusion from the get-go. Honestly, Prather didn't have a chance to win that match because of what he was.
Sam Cooley was the best bowler on that show the whole night.
His reaction was amazing. He was able to throw the ball right and creating push on Cheetah is, I don't know. Ask Fox Sports Bet the ring.
Yeah, what were the odds
of Cooley winning a title?
Yeah, and you know what, Jimmy? We couldn't tell you because there was no betting on Fox Sports for some reason this week.
I'm over that.
It's such garbage, yo. Seriously, I don't understand why they can't get it together. But all right,
I don't know.
Back to the bowling talk, Rob. I want to comment a little bit on the Maldonado Buttriff match. I thought, again, like I said about Sam Cooley, kind of bowling the best on the show the whole night. I thought Maldonado bowled great as well. I thought he really deserved to win that title. He had a little slip up towards the end of that last game there. Like he started, I think, with the front 7, and on the 8th shot, picked 3 off the right.
It was, I think, the front 6. Yeah.
And I got kind of nervous for him because I was like, man, this guy's under an immense amount of pressure trying to win his first title here and bowling against somebody who's, good and experienced. So I was really glad to see him get that done. I thought it was awesome to see Cooley and Maldonado win their first title.
Eddie, what's up, man? Good to see you in the chat. Eddie Grumman, when do you think Butchliff will get his W? He'll keep putting himself in the position to get it. I want to see, and I talked about this last week, I want to see Butchliff get a little bit more of a killer instinct in him on the TV show. Butchliff needs to go out there and stop worrying about taking selfies with his opponents after, and stop worrying about his social media and actually starting to win. Honestly, hate to say it, that might be a hot take.
Killer instinct. We brought it up. We brought it up over the weekend, Rob, on the Sunday show. Killer instinct. All right, we're gonna move on because we're gonna wrap it up here soon. Entertainment value of the shows, Rob.
I didn't really think the Cheetah show was so entertaining. It's cool to see someone like Cooley, who never made a show, and kind of win his first title. Maldonado winning his first title. I think that was pretty entertaining. In the fact where you just saw some new blood. I'd like to see some, look, I'm going to beat a dead horse. I'm not going to beat a dead horse, Mike. I came to that conclusion. I don't want to go in and talk about how there needs to be more, banter between the players, and there needs to be more, competitive, like in your face type bowling. But overall, pretty entertaining. I think Daugherty is pretty entertaining, honestly. I like watching him on TV because he's always got something to say. You never know when he's going to kind of go off the handle. So there's always that reaction. But I thought.
Well, Rob, you loved the F-bomb. I mean, you thought the F-bomb was the most entertaining.
Okay.
I'm trying to tee it up for you to talk about the F-bomb.
So real quick.
And you're shitting the bed here, son.
No, because I was getting to that. I'm just thinking about the shows in general. One, I kind of felt like there was a little bit too much talking on the shows. There just seemed to be a little bit too much commentary. There was some even TV time when there was a few minutes where there was no bowling. It was just them talking. And then they went to another commercial. I felt like they could use that time to maybe do something different, showcase the pros, showcase the miking up the pros, do something different instead of hearing Randy and Dave Ryan, who is, my opinion, a lot better than Rob Stone. Love Dave Ryan a lot better than Rob Stone. Just my opinion. But Pete Weber's F-bomb and him questionably, was he intoxicated, Mike, when he dropped that F-bomb? And here's the thing is, I see all these people on USBC message boards and PBA and all the comments, people like Coley. Like I saw a thing that said, oh, Coley, what was her reaction to the F-bomb? Look, if you're watching our show right now, you don't give a shit about an F-bomb getting dropped, okay? If you do, then you're watching the wrong show, okay? I thought that was complete Pete. Loved it. Would love to see more pros drop F-bombs while they're bowling. Personally, I think that's really entertaining. Pete reminded me of when Joe Namath was drunk talking to Susie, and he was like, "Hey, Susie, give me a kiss." That's what Pete Weber reminded me of. Hey, who could blame the guy, right? He just is celebrating one of the most legendary, greatest careers of all time. He just retired, right? It's a Wednesday night. Everybody's probably buying him drinks. So let the guy have some fun. So we dropped an F-bomb. Man, the cancel culture needs to. God, I hate them. Dude, big deal. Who cares? Fucking cry me a river about an F-bomb, dude. I loved it.
I don't know. I honestly, I would like to see. No. Hear me out. As I said, the older somebody gets, I think the more sticky it becomes. And I don't know. I would just like to see the greats of the game. Have a higher level of reverence publicly. It's okay privately, but publicly, I don't know.
Dude, okay. Shep is even Jillian F-bomb during the PBA Junior show. Dude, Jillian Martin's awesome. I gotta get that girl on the show. Seriously, like, I don't care. Big deal, dude. He had some drinks. He was
Okay.
celebrating. Let the guy
Fair
have some
enough.
fun.
So
Who cares? You know what? If you can take an F-bomb, then get the fuck out of here. Don't watch.
in terms of the entertainment value to me, I'll say that I thought there was way more entertainment value in what Flo was doing than in what the PBA did. The behind the scenes stuff from Flo. Shout to Matt Waz. I know he was there on site this week helping out. Shout to Lucas. Obviously he's running the show there. I thought they did an excellent job.
They did.
I thought that the behind the scenes stuff that they did was some of the best stuff I've seen in bowling entertainment in quite some time. Rob, I'm going to appeal to the PBA to, like they like to say that they're making changes and they're doing this or that to bowling, but quite frankly, what I see is the same old to a large degree. And I would really like to appeal, and I feel like this is not the first time I said this. I may have even said it over the weekend, but I really want to appeal to them to take some risk and make some major changes to the show. Do something different. Do something that's never been. Try something. Do something different that's never been done before. Why is it the same old still when, there's a lot of talk about change or doing things differently? Like, I really want to see something done differently. I think that there should be some kind of inner working between Flo and the PBA and Fox or FS1 where they get some of these pieces produced by Flo on the show, like a Tom Daugherty mic'd up. Maybe even a little bit more involved in that. Maybe, listen, I'm even at the point where you want to take away a game from the show. Go right ahead. I have no problem with that at this point to try something different. But,
you know what they need to do? And this is just me throwing out ideas. They need to get a camera crew, go back with Kyle Troop. Okay. Go back to his hometown. Let's see where he grew up. Let's see the Wendy's he worked at, right?
Maybe go interview the manager. I don't even need that. I'm talking about the action during the week. I want to see the players cursing, throwing their mask, getting frustrated, having conversations with each other about stuff that's bowling and non-bowling related. But to me, it can all take place in the time frame of the tournament occurring. I think what you're talking about, Rob, is nice if they have easy access to it. But in order to do something like the Simonson documentary, which they did, which honestly wasn't even that long, it took them months of work to do that. So you're at least talking about a couple weeks of work to do what you're talking about. Whereas what I'm talking about, I think, is something that's a few hours worth of work, maybe a day or two worth of work in terms of producing it on site and being able to get it done. And I don't think you even need to see Rob, in order to get into the players' personal lives and show that side, first you got to know who do the people relate to. And the way you're going to find out if they relate to them is by putting out clips like that Daugherty mic'd up to feature more players, right? You look at that Daugherty mic'd up clip, there's 3, 4, 5 things that he brings up that could make any average person that watches that, whether they bowl or not, relate to him. Okay. So, I think that that's a good thing. I think that it would be interesting to see that. And, like I said, I'd like to see major changes with the show at this point. I'm tired of turning on the show and seeing the same old shit that is going on for however many years and has not worked. And Rob, it applies to a lot of shit to me. Not not only the set, not only the formats, not only the number of games, the announcers. I mean, listen, I think everything should be fair game for change right now. Okay. So, listen, you think Pete Weber's so entertaining, he's dropping F-bombs on TV, sign him up to be in the booth. If that's worth a shot, if that's going to attract some people and get attention, try that if you want. I'm not advocating for that, but I'm just using an example.
I like that idea.
I want to see some serious I
think, and look,
coverage there.
I might get criticized for this, but when the PBA realizes that actually bowling itself doesn't get ratings, then they might actually wake up and start trying to change things. Because bowling itself, people throwing bowling balls down the lane, doesn't get ratings. It doesn't bring in new viewers. No one's flipping through the channels and watching a guy throw a bowling ball down the lane is going to be like, oh, let me watch this and get involved in this. there's other things to get people involved in. Maybe Charlie Tapp in the chat room says in the bar of the players after they miss the cut, right? That would be kind of funny to mic them up and see what they're talking about when they're in the bar drinking. Look, you're right. Well, the same old bowling. Look, you know what the definition of insanity, Mike, is doing the same thing and expecting different results. You know,
True.
and that's kind of where we're at. So, anyway, well, cool,
All right,
man.
Rob. Rob.
Yes, sir.
Everybody knows what time it is, Rob.
Yes, sir. It's our favorite time of the show.
All right, Rob, what do you got?
Okay, so this week, worst of the week, I noticed a bunch of worst of the week posts that I couldn't drum up all in the one thread. Okay, so this is something just a majority where I see across the bowling spectrum when you're reading the USBC message boards, when you're reading the Storm pages, the DVA pages. There are so many people out there that are just too cheap to buy a new bowling ball. They're always looking for like half-assed ways to, to fix an old bowling ball or find some kind of gem, right? I saw a couple days ago where someone put a post up where they found a cherry vibe for $3 at a vintage sale, and that the ball fits them perfectly and they're going to throw it in league. I saw some guy, he had a crater and a hole in his ball that like the whole fingers were gone. The pin was cracked out. There was literally a hole the size of probably like a jar in his ball. And he's like, I think can this be plugged? I'm going to plug this. Buy a new bowling ball. Is it that, like, are people that strapped these days for cash? Mike, everyone just got their
stimmy money.
Their stimmy money. Go use $150.
He called it a stymie. It's stimmy.
A stymie. I call it a stymie. You call it a stimmy.
No, it's stimulus. It's stimulus.
Yeah, but it's a stymie.
No, it's not stymie. It's stimmy.
Okay.
It's all right. To be clear,
you do you. I'll do me. Okay, you do you. I'll do me. Okay. So I want to go spend your stymie. Go to the pro shop. Take $150 instead of buying a $3 cherry vibe.
You know those memes that have been going around where it's like bank account 1,400, right? I really wanted to do one. I didn't get around to doing it, but I'll share it here. It was going to be bank account 1,400. Me, give me all the balls that bowling ball companies have released in the last week. Really? You know what I'm saying? It's probably like 40 bowling balls in a week, but.
Yeah, so that's kind of my worst of the week. Just a whole lot of like people that are just looking, to like, I don't know, not spend any money at the pro shop. Like that's what it comes down to.
All right, fair enough. All right, you guys know where I'm going. You guys know where I'm going. Come on, man.
Admin.
Guess who's Bizak? Guess who's Bizak? My boy Tim Buck.
Back again.
My boy Tim Buck. Okay. Earlier today, strong return from the Hall of Famer, and I feel like it's a great post too. I feel like it's a great post with our conversation tonight and some of the topics.
Admin.
Here we go, Tim Buck coming back, worst of the week Hall of Famer. Here it is, admin. Knock off the Pete slip yesterday. All posts have been shut down by the group of admin. And several people broke group rules yesterday and today, were muted and removed for profanity and personal attack. So please knock it off.
Dude.
Shout to Tim Buck, yo. Tim, come on, just come on the show. Guys, can I tell you something? He doesn't get the show. He doesn't get the show because he thinks that, like, we're really rattling his kid. We're not. We love it. Come on the show, Tim. Come here, talk to us. Dude.
I did. I asked him.
I know.
He politely declined.
Yeah.
Dude, if he came on, I'd have him on every week to do worst of the week with him. If he would come on.
He should be the one deciding what worst of the week is.
Oh,
right.
I know.
I'm surprised that he even lets us have this fun and have this.
The bowling drone video.
I would love it if one week he would come in and be like, admin, I will tell you what is worst of the week. That would be great.
Dude, Shep, that and the bowling drone video. Oh, he was hot on the drone video.
It was
everybody was
posted too many
posting
times.
it.
Yeah.
Dude, and then dude, I got on when that post got hit up, Coley wrote something about it, and I got on Coley, but she didn't say anything because I was just like, oh, how about an article in New York Times? That'd have been nice on actually the World Series when it was going down instead of being happy about a bowling drone video. So I'm just like shaking my head, like, come on, like you're happy about a bowling drone video when you should be working on getting some hot press for the World Series. But anyway, so Mike, I'm glad you got the Tim Buck because legend, the GOAT. Mike, when he retires, I hope it's just as big a ceremony for when he retires than when Walter Ray and Pete Weber retire. That's worst of the week.
Absolutely. All right, Rob, final thoughts here.
Looking forward to the Masters and the US Open coming up in a couple weeks. Will be the best 2 weeks of bowling. So, you have your best week of the World Series.
What are they bowling for? Like 40,000 total in the 2 weeks? Is that what they're bowling for?
Sometimes it's not about the money, Mike. Sometimes it's about the prestige.
Yeah, well, people are out here bowling for a living. So
I know, but look, like, hey, if they didn't cash in the big money tournaments, then you're better late than never. US Open Masters going to be in Reno. I'm going out on a hot take.
Yeah.
More stories on being in a bowling center employee, like the mechanic crapping in a bucket at missing shoe rental.
What was that skit that we even did? What was that skit? I don't even remember how we got to those stories.
There was an interview I think we did.
Did we? I'm not even sure. Oh my goodness.
Dude, my Dave Brooke, all the PBA guys got stimmies. Hey man, struggle bus is real out there. Anyway, so looking forward to the best 2 weeks of bowling, the U.S. Open and the Masters in Reno. I'm gonna go out on a limb, Mike, and this is not really too much of a hot take, but Jason Belmonte is gonna win one or the other.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
That's my take.
My final thought is. Can't wait to get back for more bowling action. I feel like
I was there. Pissed.
I know it was there, and now it's not. More. And I'm also interested. I'm interested to hear two things, right, going forward. Okay, one is where the PBA playoffs going to be. That's what I want to know. Okay.
Cavalier, Valero.
That's what you know what? Honestly, Rob, can I be quite frank with you? I'm actually hoping for Bayside.
Ooh.
I am. I'm hoping for Bayside again, right? But here's to my next point, Rob. I'm looking for the next part of the calendar to come out. And here's why. Because vaccines are becoming readily available, right? Things are eventually going to open up a little bit more here as we go throughout the summer, right? And I want to see, Rob, if there are more events, okay, number one. Number two, what do the prize funds look like in those events? And number three, and this is right to the point that we were making, Rob, are those events in all Bolero centers, or are there going to be some events in outside Bolero centers? Because I don't know if anybody's noticed as of late, but I'm not criticizing for this. I know it's impacted by COVID and the fact that they own the centers in certain states. I get it, but the recent events have all been in Bolero centers, right? So I want to see that, and I'm interested to see where that goes. So that's my final thought. I'm keeping an eye on those things coming up. I can't wait for the bowling to resume, although the best week in bowling is over, Rob. I'm sorry. I'm not that hyped to watch guys bowl for 30 grand. I got to be honest, 100 grand is a lot of money. 30 grand is not that much money. So U.S. Open title, awesome. Masters title open, awesome. Rob, we always get one or two guys on that Masters show who are like, unknowns or amateur guys, whatever you want to call it.
Sweet Roland, John Nolan.
Yeah, right. So
I'll never forget that show.
We'll be watching for that, and we'll still be with the people here every Wednesday. Follow us, hit us up on Twitter, Brooklyn Rob 11.
Yes, sir.
At the 215th. Email us, sweeptherack@gmail. We got a couple good emails this week. Shout to the people that emailed us. We appreciate it. We appreciate all the feedback. Guys, hit us up. Spread the word. Let people know. Let people know about the podcast. It's the best thing you could do for us. Go on iTunes. Give us a rating. Rate us somewhere. Let somebody know about us. Help us out that way. Rob, take it easy, homie. Have a good week, and we'll see the people on our regular Wednesday, I would assume, yes?
Yes, sir. We'll be back next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Peace out, everybody. Have a good one.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.